Hey everyone, hope you liked that little video. I shot that today in about 5-10 minutes because I wanted to show you guys at home how to achieve this light leak technique called freelancing, or otherwise known as lens whacking. So the first thing you're going to need is your DSLR, the second thing you're going to need is a 50mm lens, and the third thing you're going to need is a lot of patience, because this is quite difficult to get used to at first, but once you can get used to it, you can create some really cool light leak effects to make your videos look just that little bit more cinematic. So the way to create this effect is you're going to need to take your 50mm lens and you're going to need to turn the focus ring all the way to infinity. As you can see in the example video now, you can see that my 50mm lens is not actually touching my camera. It's not inserted and connected to my camera. You can see there's a slight gap between the lens and the camera itself. And that's why we're getting light leaking into the camera. So it actually creates a bit of a macro effect as well. So you can turn your 50mm lens into a bit of a macro lens. The more you space it out away from the camera, the more macro effect you'll get. If you want less of a macro effect, then you pull it in. So another technique that I use is I put my hand on top of the DSLR, and that is to choose how much light is leaking into the lens, between the gap between the lens and the camera. So if I took it away, then a lot of light would leak in, but if I covered it, then no light would leak in. So you can see in the video example that I was choosing how much to let in by just lifting my hand up and down ever so slightly. Also in the example video, you saw that I was using what's called a loop. So it's like an eyepiece that connects to the LCD screen. You don't have to have this. The only reason I was using it is it's a lot easier to use when you're in direct sunlight. Otherwise, it's very hard to see that LCD screen if you don't have a loop. But you don't have to have one, but this just made it easier for me. But one thing you've got to make sure though is you've got to make sure not to bring the lens too far away from the camera, otherwise it will increase that macro effect and shortening your depth of field. So you've got to really be careful of that. One thing you've got to be aware of is the environment that you're filming in. So if you were doing what I was doing and you were filming rather than taking photographs, then the mirror is going to constantly be locked up, which is exposing the sensor to the world really. So you've got to make sure that no dust is going to come in between that hole between the lens and the camera. So you just got to be careful and be aware of the environment you're in, and make sure that no dust or anything else kicks into the camera. So just to show you what this technique looks like without freelancing, the last shot that you saw in the video was of my mum. I'm going to show you what that same shot looked like with the lens fully connected to the camera. So as you can see, it doesn't have the same dramatic effect as the one previously. The one thing I also did differently is I shot this at normal 25 frames per second speed. You can see in the video at the beginning that I shot everything in slow motion to really emphasize that cinematic effect, and also to minimize the shake as well. You'll less likely notice camera shake if you're filming in slow motion or you put your footage in slow motion. Just a little tip there. So this technique is great because you can use it for both photos and in video mode. I wanted to do it in the video format just to show you what it's capable of. Me personally, I think it looks better in video mode because then you can see the light leak and you can see the way it moves and the way it behaves. It looks very organic, which it obviously is because it is real. Because you can obviously make this in post-production if you wanted to. There are loads of programs out there that allow you to get that light leak look to create that vintage effect. But if you can create it in camera, then I think it looks even more impressive and it's less work for you to do in post-production as well. Thanks very much for checking out this video, guys. If you want to check out more of my work, then you can go to facebook.com/Tommy Reynolds Photography, or you can follow me on Twitter at TommyReynolds89, or on Instagram, just Tommy Reynolds. Thanks very much. I'll see you all very soon. Goodbye.